I watched all 6 of the Star Wars movies. Not all 11, or how many there are. I think there's 10? No. I don't even know how many there are. But I didn't watch any of the new ones. I only watched the originals and the prequels. I've never actually seen Star Wars before, like at all. Like, I haven't watched Star Wars before. I haven't really been interested in it. It's more, I don't want to say like it's more of a boy thing, but I feel like it is. And like as a girl, I feel like Star Wars was never really a big part of my childhood. So I just never watched it. My goal for this year is to watch series that I haven't watched, like movie series. Like, I want to do Lord of the Rings because I heard it's really good. I'm doing Star Wars currently, and I've seen all Harry Potter movies, and I just want to watch like series. One of the biggest series in all of cinema is Star Wars, and I've never seen it, and I haven't really wanted to see it, but then something happened. So, flashback, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. I was just like scrolling on TikTok. I got an edit of Hayden Christensen in one of his movies, Shattered Glass. I watched that, by the way, it's so good. So I got an edit of that, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's the guy from Star Wars. Like, in the past, I've gotten edits of Hayden Christensen on my For You page, but it never really was like, oh my god, like, I need to watch Star Wars for this man. But then all of a sudden I was like, wait, he's like actually super duper fine, and you know what, let's watch some Star Wars. So that's what I did. I don't know if you can see. Let's sit up a little bit. I have an Anakin Skywalker shirt that I bought. When you think of Star Wars fans, you think of like little boys, nerds, and 40-year-old dads. And then there's like another category where it's like teenage girls simping for Anakin Skywalker, and that's the category I'm in. So I actually started watching Star Wars out of order, so it's kind of confusing, and okay. I started watching Star Wars. I started with Attack of the Clones and watched Revenge of the Sith. So I actually watched those two. I also, after that, I was like, oh my god, I'm like interested in the story, I want to watch more. So then I watched A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. As I'm making this video currently on January 27th, I have not seen, was it The Last Jedi and The Phantom Menace, I think? I haven't seen those two, which I'm going to do. I just wanted to film this little intro, and I wanted to film like the first 2 movies. Just for time's sake, because I just need to finish. And also, I wanted to start this while I was wearing my Anakin t-shirt because, you know, I was wearing it today, and, you know, it's what a great opportunity to just make this video. So yeah, let's get right into it. So, A New Hope is the first movie in the series, and it came out in 1977. And honestly, I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. So, I know it's like this like really like classic film, everybody knows it. Now, that's the thing about Star Wars, is that like it's so engraved in pop culture that I knew all of the characters. I knew Luke, I knew Leia, I knew Han Solo, I knew Chewbacca, Yoda, R2-D2, and C-3PO. I knew all of the characters. Darth Vader too. I knew all the characters because it's just so in pop culture, like everybody knows it. Like, it would be surprising if someone didn't know it. But I knew all the characters, so I was like, okay. Now, the ones I didn't know of were the prequel people, which were Anakin. I knew who Anakin Skywalker was, obviously, because of Hayden Christensen, but I didn't really know who Padme was. I've heard of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I never really, because I know he had a show, I never really knew that he was, like, a part of like the Star Wars people, because when you think of Star Wars people, you think of like Luke, Leia, Han Solo, and like that group of people. So since I knew literally nothing about Star Wars, nothing except that Luke was the main character and that Darth Vader was his dad, so really confusing and super confusing for me when I found out that Luke and Leia were twins. Because like I said, I watched out of order. I watched Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And then I started watching the original trilogy. So, it was really confusing. I thought that Leia and Luke were, like, in love. But they weren't. They weren't in love. They were twins. So, kind of confusing because in The Empire Strikes Back, there are a few moments where I was like, this is incest, but alright. Not alright. It's not okay. It's not okay. but you know what I'm trying to say. So I started watching the original trilogy, A New Hope. Wow. It was made in 1977, and I was expecting it to be really, not poor quality, but like 80s-ish, and it was, but it also wasn't bad quality. The CGI in A New Hope is actually very good for being made in the 70s, and I was not expecting that. I was expecting it to be really kiddish and just not great, but it actually was very interesting. I was intrigued, and it wasn't as little kiddish as I thought. It was actually super good, and the plot of the movie was actually really good. The movie, it kind of like, you wanted to know what happens next, but it also kind of, closed off the movie in case, I feel like I knew why they did that, in case like it didn't go as planned and it didn't do as well, so they weren't going to make a sequel. But since they did make a sequel, and it did really well, then, it was really good. And I love Luke as a protagonist. He is just the good. Like, he is good. Like, I don't want to say, like, that's, like, but he's, like, a good person. You can generally see it. Literally, like, see it just in his character, the way he interacts with people. He is literally the good guy. And he's also the New Hope. And to defeat, Darth Vader. And I really, really like that. And I like how he's just obviously a good person, and you can see that in his character. Like, his morals are where they should be. He wants to protect everyone that he comes across, and especially this happens in the second movie. Leia and Han Solo are literally, like, in danger, and then Yoda is like, no, you can't leave, like, you need to finish your training, like, or else if you go, like, you're gonna die. Like, because Darth Vader's gonna kill you, you're not experienced enough yet. And then Luke is like, no, I'm going anyways, and he does, and he saves them. And he literally loses his hand for them, and I think that's just really powerful, the way that he kind of just is just a good person, and I just love that about Luke. And I love how, like, I actually really like Luke, just his character. I already said that, but wow. So since I watched the prequels before, I already saw Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was, like, younger. But since I saw him when he was, like, a little older figure, and he was, like, the foreshadowing is amazing. I can already tell George Lucas had, like, plans to make Darth Vader his dad, because you can just tell some things that they say, like, even though, like, the Darth Vader, like, dad thing isn't, like, revealed to the second movie, you can definitely tell some things they say is foreshadowing stuff. Like, Obi-Wan being like, oh yeah, like, Darth Vader killed your dad, and, like, that is, like, foreshadowing to being like, oh yeah, like, Darth Vader. See, okay, and that is, like, going back to, like, the prequels, if you, like, really see how Anakin basically dies, but Darth Vader is, like, born. And I think that's kind of what, Obi-Wan means there, and I think that's what George Lucas was kind of going for. And it's just, like, really, really great. Leia is the first character that we see. Actually, no, that's a lie. We see 3PO and R2-D2, but, those are the robots, so, like, the first character that we really, really see is Leia. And honestly, Leia is just, like, that girl. Like, she is literally that girl. Literally just love her. Like, she's just also a really good character, while also being, like, very just, like, she knows what she wants, and what she wants she's gonna get. And that's what I like about her, because she's just, like, her and Han Solo have, like, a little thing in the first movie going on where they're, like, they're not really getting along, but she's obviously gonna take the high ground because, like, he's, like, and she's a princess, But I just love her character. I love how she's written, too. And I know that, George Lucas gets a lot of hate for, like, female characters, but I think she's actually really well written, and I like her character. And I think her and Luke are, like, just, like, together, like, just powerful. Well, they're literally twins, but, yeah. Han Solo was someone that I was not expecting to, like, again, I didn't expect to like Luke, but I love Luke, and Han Solo was also the same thing. Han Solo is kind of the comedic, like the comedic kind of guy. Like, he doesn't take anything too seriously, and he, you know, he's kind of like, you know, like, ugh, like, why might he hurt? Like, Han Solo is very hesitant on helping Obi-Wan and Luke with their journey to, you know, but he's obviously just a really he's a morally good character, but he comes off as, I only care about myself, like, I'm only worried about myself, which at the end of the movie, he's like, oh, like, well, Luke is like, we need you, like, you're such a good pilot, and then Han Solo's like, no, like, I have, like, a target on my back, like, I literally cannot. But he's obviously just a good character. Han Solo is, like, the comedic break that everyone needs in the middle of all this action, and I think it's very, very good, and how he has sort of a character development moment in, like, the first movie, and same with the second movie, he also has character development, and how he and Leia get together, which I love that character development. And oh, 3PC, is it 3PCO? I think it is 3PCO, but it might be a different letter range. 3PCO. Oh, it might be 3PO. Yeah, it's 3PO. Oh, it's C3PO. I've been saying his name wrong, it's 3PO. So 3PO and R2 are literally the funniest part of the movie. Like, literally, like, they are just so good together, even though R2 can't talk, 3PO can, and it just makes, like, the perfect comedic balance, because one character can't talk, one character can, and it's, like, super duper funny, and they just have such good banter, even though, like, one can't talk, but it's just, like, the banter is really nice between these two, and I just think it's really good, like, when you want to break from the action, these two are kind of, like, you know, there, because they're not really in the action, because they're robots, but I just love their characters, and I love them together, and I love each of them separately, so yeah. Darth Vader. Wow, let me just tell you, he is just like the boss of everything. He knows how to run a place, and it's actually just so fun to see Darth Vader in the first movie, because you're like, oh my god, this guy is, like, really scary, which is true, because he is scary, but, you know, he's also, I like how the color contrast, how all the stormtroopers are white, but then Darth Vader just, like, this, like, just all black, just, it's so good, and I just love how menacing he is. He's kind of like, he reminds me a lot of Voldemort, which is another really popular villain. I think these two are, like, the most popular villains in all of cinematic history, and they remind me of the same, because, you know, it happened to Anakin, it happened to Tom Riddle, like, that's kind of how in my mind I work them as, like, the same, because, you know, under the mask, Darth Vader ain't looking too pretty, and, you know, we've all seen Voldemort, like, he's, wow, and they're both trying to kill a kid, so, wow, whoa, I just connected those dots. Not much to say about A New Hope. I think, again, a beautifully well done movie, and I think it's a classic, and I can tell why so many people love that movie, because it is truly done well. It's shot well, and the characters get along well, and the characters are great, and the villain is great, and oh my god. The one thing I do have to point out that I don't really like about it is, I'm not a fan of the lightsaber action in this movie. Now, in this movie, in A New Hope, everyone uses guns, which is, like, good. Like, I like the sound effects that those make, and they're pretty cool, but, I do appreciate some lightsaber action, and that was something that the prequels did really well, I think, was the lightsabers, which we'll get into that, but I didn't really like the lightsaber choreography and the lightsaber action in this movie. Maybe it's because it wasn't that big of a deal, because all the Jedi are literally dead, so no one really uses this lightsaber, but the fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan was pretty much them just going, like, rah, rah, rah. Not really any of the cool moves they do in the prequels, so it's, like, kind of really off-putting, I guess, because it's like, oh, like, is this going to be a cool thing, or is this not going to be a cool thing? Turns into a cool thing, but, the fight isn't really to me the fight isn't genuine, and maybe that's what it was going for. Like Obi-Wan kind of gave up because like it is Anakin behind that, you know. But it's also like, you know, Obi-Wan did want to defeat Darth Vader, so I don't know. You know, Obi-Wan is a morally good character, and he would probably have killed Anakin if it meant defeating Darth Vader. So, I don't know. But the lightsaber action was literally just them going back and forth like this. A few blocking, you know, not really a lot of, like, get him where it hurts. Not really a lot of, like, you know, action. The noises also, the sound effects weren't as great for the lightsabers, which is, you know, okay, I guess. Like, they kind of, like, advanced over time, obviously, but I don't really like the lightsaber noise in the first movie, and I think the choreography could have been better. You could have had Darth Vader do something more. You could have had Obi-Wan do something more. You know, but you know, I feel like we needed to feel the impact of Obi-Wan dying, but also it's like it was the first movie and no one really knew who Obi-Wan was, so I guess it really didn't matter at the end. So yeah, that's the only kind of bad thing about the movie. Like, the movie itself was good. Like, it opened with, you know, the Darth Vader taking over Princess Leia's ship, and then it's kind of this like whole thing where Darth Vader's trying to find Luke, and well, he's trying to find R2, but I think it's really nice. Oh my god, forgot about Chewbacca. I don't really like Chewbacca. He's okay, but I just feel like there's two characters that can't talk, and it's Chewbacca and R2. But it's like, choose one, I feel like. But I'm kind of glad that they didn't make Chewbacca talk, because that would absolutely traumatize me. I just don't like Chewbacca. He's kind of annoying, but I love how Han Solo and him are like this. And I like them comedically together. It's really nice. So, The Empire Strikes Back is the second movie of a saga that came out in 1980. So pretty old. And it is really good. I like that one too. So that one is more of, I think, getting to know the characters a little more. So Han Solo and Princess Leia obviously share their kiss in this movie. But Leia and Luke also share a tender kiss in this movie. There's some incest in this movie, and it's like, okay, that's like fine. Not really, it's not. Obviously they don't know, but it's like kind of like, oh. But, like, at the time, like, no one knew that they were twins. Like, that probably was, like, the worst plot twist in cinematic history when, like, oh, we're twins. I love how the movie opens up. It's just, like, they're, like, in the cold planet, and the Death Star has been defeated, but then Darth Vader has this ship that is, like, super, super, like, high-tech and advanced. And I love how in this movie, Darth Vader has this running joke where one of his commanders, like, the head guy in the commanders, like, does something wrong, and then Darth Vader kills him, like, on the spot. Like, he keeps saying that over and over again. It happens, like, what, 3 times, I think? But then, like, the 4th time, it doesn't happen because it's, like, the end of the movie, and, like, the guy messed up, and then he just walks away. It's, like, super funny. What I like about this movie is Luke and Darth Vader actually have an interaction. They talk about it. Darth Vader is trying to convince Luke to go on the dark side, and I think it's really interesting. Once after I watched the prequels, how the Chancellor wanted Anakin to be on the dark side, and I saw that in Darth Vader's little speech to Luke. We can rule the galaxy together with father and son, kind of like how Anakin at the end to Padme, like, we can rule the galaxy together. Obviously, it didn't work with Padme, and it didn't work with Luke, because Luke is a morally good character, and same with Padme. And that's, like, the thing that I see. I see a lot of Padme in Luke. I don't see a lot of Anakin. I see the ambition to fight with Anakin and Luke, but I don't see kind of the moral connection with them. And that's what I saw more in this movie. I saw Luke being more like Padme, and I really enjoyed that. In this movie, they're on this icy planet, and they have this, like, huge battle scene. Great. Love it. Love the battle scene, with, like, there's people on the ground, there's people, like, the Imperials are in their little, like, big walking thing, and then, like, Luke is in the plane, and, like, you know, great action, love that. Luke almost dies at the beginning because apparently, Mark Hamill, who plays, Luke, he got into a car accident, and he had, like, surgery, and those were where the scars were, and then they just had to, like, write that into the movie so it wouldn't look weird. So that's why that happened. So it was kind of pointless, but also not, because it explained why Luke had scars on his face. In this movie, he loses his hand at the end. So basically the whole, like, kind of setup of the movie is, like, all the rebellions against Darth Vader and his minions are like in this bunker in the ice planet. They find them, have a war, the bunker collapses, they have to evacuate and escape, and then Darth Vader is trying to find Han Solo and Leia in their little, what's it called, the Eagle Millennium? I don't know what it's called, I'll look it up. In their little spaceship, and the whole movie is them trying to find them, and also the whole movie is kind of like Han Solo struggling with his little like going to light speed, which I think is super funny as well. And then Luke kind of has his own subplot, so like the two kind of go their separate ways. So Luke and Leia are doing their own separate things. Leia is with Han Solo, Chewbacca, and C-3PO, and then Luke is with R2 and is trying to find Yoda. We met him in the second movie, and Yoda is the one who's gonna be training Luke to become a Jedi. And this movie is basically just Luke trying to learn how to use the Force. We don't really see much of that because most of the movie is like seeing Darth Vader's plans and seeing, you know, Han Solo interact with Leia and how their kind of relationship works. And great. I love that because it gave kind of like them to grow, gave Luke time to grow on his own while those people grew on their own without Luke. And I really enjoyed that. I like how Luke and Han Solo have their own little like romance going on, and how that, you know, kind of goes on throughout the movie, especially towards the end when like Han Solo gets frozen, and how Leia says I love you and then he doesn't say it back. Because I think what happened, so I haven't seen, what I'm assuming, I think this is going to be explained in Return of the Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is that he was too scared to say it because he might have died and didn't, or maybe he knew he wasn't going to die and just didn't say it. I don't know. I hope that their romance is pretty good. I'm not going to say much about what I hope in the future, but because I'm going to watch that movie tonight and watch the other one tonight, and hopefully come to a conclusion and finish the main trilogy. So, absolutely love this movie. I love how, like, Darth Vader gets, like, I like how it's, like, a Darth Vader versus Han Solo and Leia. Because you can definitely tell, although Darth Vader is against Luke, he really is like, oh, this is my kid. Like, I should probably try and convert him to the dark side before killing him. And that's what he does. And I like how when the Luke, I'm your father happens, Luke is I can definitely tell this impacted Luke because he wanted to be exactly like his father. He wanted to be exactly like him because his father, like, people told him that he was like this coolest guy with this really good Jedi master, like, but then he just died. And I think Luke really looked up to his dad. In the middle of me filming, I was talking about The Empire Strikes Back, my camera decided to stop recording and say that I'm out of memory. So I'm back now with even more appreciation because if you recall, I don't know if I said it, but I said that I didn't finish the original trilogy and I was going to do that, and I just finished it. Let me tell you, literally the best trilogy ever. I know what happens now. Great. We'll talk about the prequels in like this video, but like I'm doing that tomorrow. Let's finish talking about The Empire Strikes Back. So I was talking about how Luke looks up to his dad and then doesn't know his dad has a legacy in the Jedi world. Luke is hit with this really big information that his dad is Darth Vader. That probably sends him into this complete state of shock, and it does. He's very conflicted with his feelings, and in the third movie, he specifically says when he's with his dad that he's not going to fight his dad. He doesn't want to fight his dad, and that's because he's a morally good character. You see more of Padme in Luke and more of Leia and Anakin. Like how in the third movie, I know I'm talking about The Empire Strikes Back right now, but Luke is a morally good character because in the third movie, if you recall, he's like, there's still good in him. Like, he still has a good side. There's good in my father. Like, he's not evil. That's exactly what Padme said in, like, the part where, like, she was trying to convince him to go with her at the end of Revenge of the Sith. That's kind of what I've noticed, and how the qualities of Anakin are in Leia, but they both have qualities of each parent, and I think that's really cool. And that's why I like watching the prequels before, so I kind of know what, the characters are like in this one. So, The Empire Strikes Back, and we also meet Yoda in this movie, which I think is a fantastic character. Although we don't see much of him in the original trilogy, he's there. But I really do like how he gets his training arc and how he learns how to use the Force, and learn how to better control his feelings. Again, you can definitely see where his morals lie when, he sees into the future that his friends will be in danger, that he wants to help them. He wants to go to the Clouded City, put himself in danger for them. And I think that's just so powerful, and you can definitely see how he is just a morally good character. And also in that movie, we can see the character development with Han and Leia, how Han is kind of like this guy that's like really out for himself. Like he isn't really out for himself, but he kind of was at the beginning when we first met him in the first movie. And like how he keeps growing into like, okay, I'll stay, but only for this. Like, oh, I'm only gonna be here for this. But then he stays because it's the right thing to do, and it's what he wants to do. And it's not just for him, it's for like the whole cause, because they really need him as a pilot. And that's kind of like his like growth in like this movie, in The Empire Strikes Back. How he just kind of goes from being like in the first movie like, oh, I'm only in this for the money, to being like, oh, I'm here because people need me. The rebellion needs me. And that's what I really like about, Han. And I like how he and Leia kind of have their own growth. There is like some underlying feelings in the beginning of this movie, and how Leia tries to make Han jealous by kissing Luke. Really weird, because they are twins. They didn't know that yet though. And I like how the like underlying feeling is kind of, they both come to a realization that they do love each other. And Leia says it at the end when Han is like getting frozen and he doesn't say it back. But full circle moment in the third movie when Leia got shot or something, he's like, I love you. And then she's like, I know. Or something like that. I can't remember because I'm tired, but something along those lines, and I love that full circle moment. The second movie is really good too. I think it really adds, this movie is about character growth, and I like how this movie just kind of really gets you just excited for the finale. And I really appreciate that, and I like how the big reveal of secrets finally coming out, that Darth Vader is Luke's dad, and I really like that. So in Return of the Jedi, I think I said in like the previous, when I was doing this earlier, that I said The Last Jedi, that's actually a movie in like the newer versions of Star Wars. The Return of the Jedi, absolutely perfect. I just watched that tonight. Let me tell you, that movie's great. In this movie, we get revealed that Leia and Luke are twins. I knew that already, and most people probably did because these movies are old, but I can tell that was a really good plot twist for people who were in the 80s and watching this for the first time. This movie opens up where they are, the ship, the commander ship that Darth Vader has, they're talking about the plans and all that, and that the Emperor is coming. The Emperor is a big part of this movie, and he wasn't really a big part of the first two, so it was good to see Darth Sidious. And I really, enjoyed his level of evilness and like the way he thinks. Appreciate that. And then it goes into like the opening of the movie, like the first 20 minutes is like, we see Darth Vader, and then we see Luke trying to get Han Solo back, and I think that plan was really, really good, and how I was waiting for the lightsaber to come out. When we first saw Luke in this movie, the entrance was mid-character moment for real. The door's open, he's hooded, and he has this all black fit. It looks so cool. It looks like Anakin Skywalker Revenge of the Sith fit. It looks so good. And then, like, when R2 launches that lightsaber to Luke, oh my god. So in this movie, Luke's lightsaber changed from blue to green, and I looked up the colors because I was confused. Red obviously is for the evil people. I noticed that and I understood that. Blue is for like loyalty, green is for growth, and I think that's really good because Luke is growing. He's growing as a character, he's growing as a Jedi, and I really appreciate that. So once Luke gets Han Solo and everyone back from captivity, they go their separate ways for a little second. So basically Leia and Han and like all the others go to like the main like rebellion base, and then Luke goes to Yoda again to finish his training. Now this was like where the emotional beats happen. Yoda's talking about, oh, like I'm sick, like I don't have much time left, like, you know. Then Luke starts asking questions like, oh, like, is Darth Vader my father? These other questions. Then Yoda spills everything and is like, there's another Skywalker, and then dies, which I think is really strange because it's like, bro, you were like walking around 2 seconds ago and now you're dead. Whatever. Apparently he was like 900 years old, so I completely understand. By the way, I hate the way that Yoda talks. This is controversial, but I don't like the way he talks because I don't want to be solving a riddle every time he talks. If it wasn't for subtitles, I wouldn't be knowing what he was saying. Anyways, so he's like, there's another Skywalker, and he dies, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi's ghost comes out because Luke is like, I can't do this alone, and then Obi-Wan comes out and is like, Yoda will always be with you. And it's like, and then like Luke is always like, why didn't you tell me, like, my father, like, you lied about my father? And then Obi-Wan is like, no, Darth Vader did kill your father technically because Anakin didn't want to be known as Anakin anymore. He wanted to be able to be known as Darth Vader. Kind of my analysis earlier because I hadn't seen this part yet. And then Luke is like, oh, like Yoda talked about another Skywalker, and like Obi-Wan's like, yeah, like, you have a twin sister, woo. And then all of a sudden, like, Luke is like, oh my god, it's Leia. And I'm like, how do you know this? I'd be like, who is it? Like, how do you know it's Leia? Oh my god, flash forward. Oh, this really cool part. Okay, so Luke meets up back with Han Solo and like the big rebellion, and they have this plan to destroy the Death Star. But they have to get into this moon first. To destroy like the reactor or something, like destroy the shield, and you know. So they go to this moon planet thing, and trees, big foresty, and they have this little like chase scene with like the bikes. I thought that was really cool and fun how everything was exploding. Very fun to watch. I loved that. And also like how Luke uses his lightsaber, and it's really cool. Another thing is that Leia finds these little they're little like bear things, and then they're a big part of the movie as well. Leia's on her own, and then Luke is with everyone else, and you know, Han and stuff like that. They both stumble across these like animals, I don't know what they are, and then CP3O is like seen as their like god or whatever, and it's like, you know, it's really weird. But they end up helping out, and then when they're at this little base, then Luke is like, do you know your mother? And she's like, yeah, like, she died when I was young, and I just have pictures of her, and like, just really, she's like, no, I don't really know my mother, she died when I was very young. And I was like, is it Padme? Because Padme literally died right after childbirth, so I don't know, like, but anyways, so then Luke starts talking, and like, is like, Darth Vader is my father, and then Leia's like, your father? And then Luke is like, this may be hard to hear, but you're my twin sister. And then Leia's like, I know, I just always had this feeling. And I was like, girl, in the last movie you kissed him, and then the movie before that you kissed him on the cheek multiple times. I just can't with that. I'm like, oh my god, you knew all along, but you still kissed your brother? Weird. Anyways, Han kind of gets this feeling like, oh, what if Leia likes Luke and not me? And it's like, as an audience, we know that that's not true because they're literally siblings. And then Luke is like, I have to go, like, I'm gonna endanger you guys, like, I have to go to Vader. Keep in mind, the Emperor, or Darth Sidious, is already there. And is like, you have to turn, like, to Darth Vader, he's like, you have to turn Luke to the dark side. And he's like, alright. And then Luke is like, oh no, like, there's still good in him, like, I can turn my father back to the good side. And that's what he wants to do. So he goes and turns himself in, and, you know, and then they have this long talk, and it's like, you know, like, you're still good. Like, then, like, Darth Vader's like, you don't know, like, the power of the dark side. Like, I literally cannot, like, turn back into the good side. Like, there's no way. And then, this is like a rough summary. Like, I'm skipping a lot of details, but, you know, it's a rough summary. Then, you know, Luke is taken to the Emperor, and they have this whole chat, like, you're gonna turn to the dark side, like, your hate is gonna make you turn to the dark side. And I love this scene, and I love how when Luke finally grabs, like, he sees, like, oh, like, his, like, people are being blown up outside, like, the Emperor is manipulating him into thinking that Leia and, like, Han Solo were dead. Now the Emperor is, like, manipulating him into thinking that, you know, his friends are dead. And he sees everything, and then, like, the Emperor is like, oh my god, you have to take your, you know, your lightsaber and kill me, because, like, that's what the dark side is about. And it's like, okay, he's not gonna do it, but then he does, and it's so cool. He grabs his lightsaber, and then Darth Vader grabs his lightsaber. They duel it out, and it's this cool thing, and, like, Luke is like, I don't want to fight you, father, and then, like, and then finally, like, I think, oh my god, and then Darth is like, and then Vader is like, oh, well, you have a twin sister, like, you know, like, if you want to the dark side, like, she will. And then that's what gets Luke's, and he's like, never, which honestly parallels between Anakin's liar and Luke's never. Oh my god. And so they duel it out again, and Luke goes absolute beast mode, and he's like, rah, rah, rah. And he's like, he has the upper hand, he cuts off his father's hand. Anakin, or Darth, I should say, loses his, you know, lightsaber. He's completely defenseless, and then the Emperor's like, do it, like, kill him, and he's like, no. And then, you know, the Emperor's like, alright, then you choose your path. And then he gets, like, electrocuted. Luke gets, like, electrocuted, and then Darth is standing there just, like, watching this whole thing, and then finally he's like, no. Like, in this really deep voice, and then he flings Darth Sidious into this, like, pit, and then it, like, explodes, and then, you know, Darth Sidious is dead. But Darth got electrocuted, so he was, like, dying, and then, like, they had this moment where they were like, see, like, I knew you could turn it, like, the good side, like, you weren't evil. Oh no, I think Darth said that, I don't know who said that, but they was like, yeah, you were right, like, I'm not completely evil. And then Darth is like, can you take off my mask? I just want to see with my own eyes. And he's like, but it will kill you. It's like, because at this point, Luke is like, I want to take you with me. Like, you're not going to be blown up. Darth is like, take off my mask. Like, I just want to see you with my own eyes. And that's what he does. He takes off his mask, and then, like, they have this moment. It's really powerful. It's really impactful. Especially seeing the prequels first. I'm very just, that hit close to home. That was like, oh my god. That was just like a real moment there. And I really appreciate the emotional beat, and I just love how I was close to tears, but I didn't cry because, listen, I didn't want to look like a loser. I didn't cry because it wasn't nighttime when I watched this, and I didn't want my mom to be like, why are you crying? And I'd be like, Star Wars. So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, he dies, and it's really emotional, I think, especially after, you know, kind of getting the prequels, which is humanizing Darth Vader. It's really upsetting to see Anakin finally fall, but I think it's really impactful. And then how like everyone's cheering once the Death Star gets blown up, and it's just like this big thing, and seeing like the series of events where like each like planet is having its own celebration when they were finally free. And it's like, oh my god, it's impactful, really. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the movie, Luke is looking off to like wherever and sees Anakin, Yoda, and Obi-Wan, and I love that. Really impactful because I loved how they changed it. Like, fun fact, they actually changed this after Revenge of the Sith came out, from the actor who played Darth Vader to Hayden Christensen, and I think that's really good because it showed like his dad was a human and not the scary guy, and I really like how that, you know, really humanized Darth Vader, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, that was the original trilogy. Very, very good. I will be thinking about this for a while. I love everyone had happy endings. And I can't wait to talk to you about the prequels. I still have one more movie to watch. I have to watch Phantom Menace, and then I can fully talk to you about the prequels. But I will tell you that, oh my god, I didn't talk about this. You know how like I talked about how in the first movie I didn't really like the, you know, lightsaber choreography or the sound effects. This movie, great sound effects with the lightsaber, great choreography with the lightsaber. Love that. A++ on that. My favorite part is the lightsaber, so I love it. I love it. Let's get on to the prequel. Currently, at this moment, I have not seen one movie in the original 6, but I have seen 5, so I think it's time for me to talk about the prequels. Well, let's start from Attack of the Clones. Wow. That movie is beautifully well done. I love the lightsaber part. I love Anakin's character, I love Obi-Wan's character, and I love just how Padme and Anakin kind of had this connection, and how Anakin's speech towards Padme was the most beautiful speech in all of cinematic history, and I know that whole speech from the heart. Okay, that speech changed my life. Hitting, wow, standards for men. Read that to me, that's how you get me. Just say that whole speech and you got me for life, you know. Put a ring on this finger, bro. Attack of the Clones is basically starts off where Padme is being like hunted or something, like assassinated. She doesn't get assassinated, but you know, people are trying to assassinate her because she's like the Senate. She's in this like major city. This is where Obi-Wan and Anakin come in, and they meet again for the first time in 10 years. He's all grown up, and so is she, and then he's like, wow. That's what he did. I know a lot of people talked about this on TikTok, but I feel like Anakin in this movie was really just like giving her like those looks the whole time. And I think that's true, but also not once they finally get to like, what's Naboo? Is that the planet she's from? What I wish about this movie that it had, okay, first of all, the CG was good. Was it as good as the 1980s one? I don't think so, and I don't really care about the CG though. I love the lightsaber sounds, I love the lightsaber choreography, really well done. I love Padme's clothes. Oh my god. If I could wear Padme's clothes out in public, I would. Like, I would wear all of them. All her dresses and all her fits are so good. I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god. Especially, I love the one where she's like, where her and Anakin are standing by the little, like, rail. And then Anakin's like, I don't like sand. And they get into this conversation. Beautiful. Her dress is pretty. And then, like, her dress when, like, Anakin is giving like that long speech, I'm like, I want that dress. Oh my god. So if anyone knows where to get those dresses, I will please let me know in the comments. Anyways, this movie starts off, the Jedi Council is telling Obi-Wan to like protect Padme, and then Anakin's obviously there. And then Anakin literally tells Jar Jar Binks that's like, I love her. It's like, I've thought of her for like 10 years. Oh boy. Like, oh, You have now. Okay. But it's legal. It's legal. He's 19. It's okay. Okay, so basically, and then she, in the middle of the night, since they have like little force things, like the spider sense, and then they're like, oh my god, wait, I sensed something. They run into the room, kill whatever is there. Then they follow it in this big chase scene. I actually really like that. And they finally catch the killer, and then they go on their mission. So, Obi-Wan's mission is to figure out who was trying to kill her. Obi-Wan gives Padme to Anakin, and they're kind of like worried for him. They're like, oh, like he might not be, because he's like, Anakin is very rebellious and like kind of set in his own ways, and he's like doesn't think properly, I guess. So they're kind of worried over that, but then that goes okay. So they're sent to this beautiful lakeside palace in Naboo, and it's just beautiful how they fall in love. I wish they put more scenes of them actually falling in love, but I like how they do, and they're just so cute together. I just not much to say about Attack of the Clones. I feel like that movie was, I watched it when I was like half asleep. I watched the first half when I was fully awake, and then the second half when I was like, okay, like there was parts where I think I fell asleep for like 2 seconds. Like during the whole like Obi-Wan was like the war part, like you know what I mean, like the war part at the end I kind of fell asleep for. Anakin's dreams, we see how Anakin can see the future, and how they explain this in the Force, like you can see I think the past and the future with the Force, and how Anakin can see the future kind of, and in his dreams especially, and he sees his mother dying, and I think he said that he keeps getting that nightmare over and over again. And so he finally gets in, he's like, I really can't be here, like I have to help my mom, like we need to find her, and like, you know. So they leave the palace and they go to Tatooine, and so they find out that since his mom was a slave, they find out that she's been sold to this one guy, and then they got married, and then she's been taken by like, I think the Sand People. She's taken by the Sand People, and then Anakin is like, Padme, you stay with my family, I'll go. You stay with these people, and I'll go to find her. So he finds her finally, and he obviously sets her free, but then she's like dying because they like tortured her, I guess. And then so she dies, and then he's like, oh my god, the anger and hatred. He is consumed by the anger and hatred, and this is why he turned to the dark side, kind of. And I like how we see it in Attack of the Clones as well, not just Revenge of the Sith, but how we see kind of like the anger take over him, and how he kills the men, but not just the men, the women and the children. And then like he rants to Padme about this, and like he's like, I killed all of them, I don't feel bad about it. Like he doesn't really care, like he says that he hates them, like he slaughtered them like animals. He literally says that, and Padme's like like, me too, girl, me too. And it's like, oh my god, Padme, are we the same person? No, we aren't, because at the Revenge of the Sith I would have gone with him. And they kind of have this tender moment where Anakin kind of shows like this more emotional side of him, this like darker side of him. Padme's interested in that, and like, you know, that's kind of their little like get together scene, I guess. And then they go trying to find Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan's in trouble. And then they find Obi-Wan, but then they get captured, and then they have to do this like battle thing with like these different aliens. And then Padme is like thinking that she's gonna die, and same with Anakin, so she's like, I love you. And he's like, I love you too. And they share a tender kiss before they go into the arena. They end up not dying, but they have this like cute little war scene, and I think that's really good. Maybe we see Yoda fighting, and oh my god, he's a boss. He fights Count Dooku, but obviously Count Dooku flees. That movie ends, and Anakin and Padme get married, and Obi-Wan is so trying. I totally kind of forgot most of that end of the movie, but all I know is they got married and it's really, really cute. So Revenge of the Sith is really good. It's so good. Anakin has his hair grown out. He's super good with his, sword skills. Again, love the choreography, love the sound of the lightsabers. So this movie opens up with this big 20-minute fight scene. I'm not kidding, it's 20 minutes. And then at the end of it, Count Dooku dies because Anakin kills him. The Chancellor is there because he got captured, and he's like, Anakin, do it, kill him. And then Anakin's like, it's not the Jedi way though, because he's the Chancellor, he doesn't really care about the Jedi ways. He's the Chancellor. No, he's really Darth Sidious, and I like this foreshadowing because it's like, it's not the way though, but he does it anyways. He kills Count Dooku, and I really like that. How you kind of see it early in the movie, even though you don't really know that it's gonna lead to where it doesn't. This movie's just amazing how they do Anakin and Padme. I think I like Anakin and Padme better in this movie. So Anakin goes home to Padme, and they have this tender little kiss in the hallway, and then Padme's like, I'm pregnant, and then he's like, oh no, but he's like, oh my god, this is a happy moment, like, I'm gonna be a father, woo. But then they have to like keep their, like, because they're secretly married, like, Jedis aren't allowed to love, and she is a senator, she's not supposed to be, marrying a Jedi, but she does it anyways, and, she's pregnant with a child. Me too, girl. Anyways, and so they are like living this lie, and oh my god, I love how in this movie you kind of see how the mistrust that Yoda has with Anakin, how Anakin is a Jedi master, but they don't call him master because I feel like Yoda kind of he saw into the future that Anakin's gonna turn evil, so I feel like that kind of builds this mistrust with Anakin and how people don't really trust him in the Jedi Council, and that's what kind of leads him down this dark path. He's not respected in the Jedi Council, and he's like, wait, like, this is so unfair, this is not okay, like, this had never happened in history where a Jedi is not called master. Then Anakin has this dream, and this is what kind of changes the shift of the movie. Anakin is like this very light-hearted person in the beginning, and then it shifts after this nightmare. The nightmare is that Padme dies with childbirth, and so what I like about this movie is that you kind of see the deterioration, the downfall. You see the downfall of Anakin, how he, was like, that's unfair when the Jedi Council was like being rude to him, and then he gets this bad news, and then it just, how do I fix this? This woman that I love, how do I fix this? So he goes to Yoda and is like, how do I fix this? Like, this is insane. And Yoda's like, one cannot change the future. What is fate is fate. And then Anakin is like, fuck you. And it's like, basically, whatever, Yoda. But then he goes talk to the Chancellor. And is like, you know how to fix this? Like, and then Chancellor's like, yes, with dark power. Like, there's stuff the Jedi has not taught you. He's like, is it possible to learn this power? Like, to learn how to resurrect people from the dead or like save them from death. And then Chancellor's like, yes, there is. So basically, at this point, he's manipulating Anakin into thinking that he can save Padme. Well, listen to Yoda, honestly, but he didn't. And yeah. So then he starts questioning his morals about, oh, am I fighting for the right side? Am I fighting for the good side? The Jedi Council's corrupt. Am I fighting for the better side? And that's kind of like the whole kind of turn of the movie, and how the Chancellor's manipulating him into thinking that he is, gonna be getting the most powerful, but really is just turning evil. And I like the character development. Development can be good or bad, and in this case it's bad. How Anakin kind of is manipulated into, this. Finally, the Chancellor reveals himself to be Darth Sidious, and Anakin's like, I'm gonna turn you in, and then he does, but then he's like, while the Chancellor is dying, he's like, but you won't get to save Padme, and then finally Anakin flings Samuel L. Jackson off the thing and saves Darth Sidious, and then is like, I will do anything, and that's when he finally turns to the dark side. And it's like this big shift in Anakin where he goes from being this kind of lost, he's lost in this movie, and he finally finds something that he can grab onto, and that is Darth Sidious. And then Darth Sidious like, you're Vader now. And he's like, your first mission is to kill every single person in the Jedi Temple. And that is what he does. Even the children. That scene has such an impact, and I knew it was happening, but I didn't expect to be that shocked when it finally happened. Just the poor kids. Like, we need your help. Like, Anakin, like, what's gonna happen? Like, there's too many of these, like, stormtroopers that are coming here. Oh, keep in mind, all the stormtroopers that were doing these, like, missions during the war turned evil and were killing the Jedi. So, we're, like, sabotaging the missions because, you know, Darth Sidious manipulated them. So, it's such a big parallel because in Attack of the Clones, you see, Anakin interacting with these children and being, like, super heartwarming to them, and then you see in this movie they really trust Anakin, and he betrays their trust so much, and he kills these young children. I don't think you guys know how big of an impact that is, because it's like in movies and TV shows they never kill kids, I feel like, but this time they did, and they kind of showed, like, they didn't show it, but they showed, like, the little when his lightsaber came out, and it was really sad to see the kid jump back. And now that part got me. But also got me was how Anakin goes to kill, you know, the other people, and then on this, like, volcano planet, and then Padme goes with, or Obi-Wan goes with Padme to try and stop him. And they have this big speech, or they have this big conversation back and forth, Padme and Anakin, and he's like, we can rule the galaxy together. Like, you can definitely tell he still loves Padme, because he's suggesting, like, we can rule together, but then Padme's like, no, like, that goes against my morals, that goes against my beliefs, I'm not doing it for you. And then he sees Obi-Wan and is like, you are with him, I'm gonna kill you, and that's what he does. But then he immediately regrets that, because he's like, you know, cool fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Best fight I've seen ever, when he's floating on the little rock. Oh my god, that's so cool. And then that's when Anakin's downfall finally comes. That's when he gets turned into Darth Vader, and then Padme's still alive, but she's not well. Then they go, and she goes into childbirth, and 2 children come out, Luke and Leia. Padme, in the end, before she died, was like, where's Anakin? Like, there's still good in him. Like, I know there's good in him, and that reminds me so much of Luke, and their parallels are so just wow, because even though Luke could have died, he still wanted to see the good side in his father. And same with Padme, she was dying but still saw the good side in Anakin. And, you know, Anakin finally turned into this Darth Vader guy, and the first thing he asks is, where's Padme? Is she alright? Oh my god. And then, like, the guy's like, wait, it seems in your anger you killed her. And then that's when the full Darth Vader stuff comes. He wants to erase Anakin from his life, who he once was from his life. And that is the beauty of this Star Wars as a whole. And I love it, and the impactfulness of watching all 6 movies together, full circle moment. And I love how they humanize Anakin, how they showed the good and the bad and the ugly of all these characters, especially Anakin. They showed really, like, Anakin is like a big major player in this, you know, this trilogy, or these 6 movies.
I just want to say it's a few days later and I have watched The Phantom Menace. I just want to say I really do like that movie as well. I like how we see Anakin and Padme interacting, and I like Darth Maul and I forgot his name, but like their fight was so cool, and I like how Darth Maul has like the 2 like lightsaber like sides. Anyways, that's all I want to say about Phantom Menace. There's not much to say, although it's really good, and I like how very heartwarming it is.
So yeah, that's Star Wars for you. It was really fun to watch these movies, and I will definitely be missing this, but I think that it's time to check Star Wars off my list. And thank you guys so much for watching this. This is my first kind of movie related video. I hope you guys like it. It was really fun to make, and really, really just, I love talking about this type of stuff. And I think Star Wars was just this big pop culture movie. It's everywhere in pop culture. And how I've never seen it, and how I was going with low expectations. I wasn't gonna really like it, but I ended up loving it, and I just love the characters. I love everything about it, and I am so happy to say that I finally watched this. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for just everything. This is a long video, I know, and I'm gonna head to bed because it is 12 o'clock and I've been filming for an hour and a half. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Leave recommendations in the comment section below, and I will see you guys later. Bye.
Oh